There are many type of sacrifices that usually work when we want to attack against the king, but specifically I'd like to show you right now the sacrifice that go against g7 and h6, most specifically both of them, and how we can get to take advantage out of this. The position we see on the board is pretty straightforward. I mean, white obviously has 4 pieces coming right against the black king, the 2 bishops, the queen and the rook. So we really ask, how is it possible to use these pieces to a maximum advantage? Now, that's not an easy question, but I have a good idea. If we take h6, black is going to capture back. There is no follow-up to follow. And there's nothing we can do, really. If we don't do that, essentially what we realize is that it will be hard to get the attack going on. So what is the real best way to play here so we can actually become most successful? Well, the best way to make it work to play in this position is actually the continuation of rook takes g7. This move is not only powerful because it totally destroys the black position, pawn structure around there, but it actually helps us to see that after rook takes g7, if his king takes back, we're going to have this bishop takes h6, and this is really powerful. It's not just the actual idea out there to help us attack and help us destroy, but a couple of the next moves too. Also, what we realize is that if his queen gets to capture on the g7 as well, then there is the move of bishop takes h6 that helps us after the bishop captures in there. When this king goes down, we have bishop fa. So taking out the bold pawns was a very powerful motive, and I think it's important to understand this little path there. Now we're going to see a couple of deeper examples to this one, which are going to help you how eliminating those pawns can really help somebody's attack. This next position that we are going through is another not that simple example where we see that white has definitely lined up quite a few of his pieces straight against black's king. And this is helpful because, I mean, having so many pieces like this rook, the bishops, and the queen is looks quite devastating on the first sight. We just need to discover what is the follow-up to make those pieces really powerful and really successful. One thing that I'm looking for in here is that if we want to make these upcoming attacks against the black king to really succeed, we have to get the rook first, rook to g4. So it was a good start. Actually, after getting that rook into the play, it seems like black has to do the move of queen e7. So what's the next thing we do? Well, the next thing we do is that we play the bishop on h4, which with the temple forces the black king to go out. Now the black queen to go out. Now, that is how you begin. One of the most important things about a flying attack is that, besides just weakness and preparation, you must have a couple features. The features usually turn out to be important pieces that you've got around and they're helping your actual attack. The only thing is that after his queen came up to the c5, the most valuable of all ideas was white's ability to destroy by taking on g7. And this move is very helpful right now. I mean, after rook takes g7, is that if black's king really gets to capture, we got bishop f6, which is very powerful, and after king to g8, we got queen g4. As more moves happen right against black king, more and more we discover that he's really missing any substantial defense. When his queen moved away, then he doesn't have it no more. Knight g6 will be followed by bishop takes to the g6, f takes g6, queen takes g6. So when the king moves away, there's also this move, queen to g7, and all looks great. So if all looks great, how do we make the work then further on? I mean, the giving this check definitely forced black to move away with the king. Well, actually, I agree that this is a pretty solid position, but I think now we notice an absence. We notice an absence of a third attacker that hasn't really involved yet, hasn't got involved into the activity. We've got a queen, we've got a bishop, so let's think. which is the third piece that we'd like to use so we can actually create most threats against his position? Well, you know, what I'm thinking about right now is mostly to move rook d1. This move is perfect. Getting that one rook out there is helping us to force a move like rook c7, which is quite passive, I have to say. And when we do the move queen to g6, king f8, and then bishop to g7, we realize that there is nothing that can possibly help Black's king in time. Should the king move down there, we realize that there is a checkmate going up. If the king comes up to e7, then there's another check to happen, and when that king goes down, we have bishop takes h6. It's simply impossible for Black to come near and defend with having this king right there. It's extraordinary to see the strength and the power of White's pieces that are really coming one after another. Which is bishop takes h6. If Black's rook actually goes in, then there is this check on the g6. Then there's this check on the g7. And there's another check from here. And the final check is not just nice looking. It's a killer. It's impossible for Black to make this work. And that is why it's so beautiful and devastating. Okay, so does Black actually have a chance to do anything about this? It looks through this. Does he have any resource or whatever? I hardly doubt that, although what I'm thinking about is that we need it to get rid of this queen in order to make the attack work. And finally, what I'd like to show you right now is a beautiful position that will show to you how to make the attack against g7 and h6 in a more effective manner, even out of a very practical position where you still need to bring up some more forces in order to make it work. This is the situation we've got. The truth is, we got that knight, we got the bishop and all that, all the significant pressure right against Black's king. So this is good. This is really good. He's attacking our bishop on the g5, which means that we have to choose where to put it in order to stand more successful with it. And we got a chance to take on h7, h6, which doesn't maybe get to work because you're retaking. I don't like that. So we ask, what is it what we need to do? Black has problems to drive his spears closer. If your opponent has problems with his development or coordination of his piece, why would you need to force the events on the board? Why would you need such a thing? I wouldn't need that. What I would do, and what White did in this position was bishop h4. This move, above all else, helps us to set the pressure, the tension against the knight on f6 in a very powerful way. And beyond that, it's also being helpful. And after bishop h4, when the king goes down, otherwise we've got these old threats coming. When the king goes down to the h7, White's playing queen f3, and what we realize is that there is no way how Black can efficiently stop the majority of White's threats that are definitely coming. He's got no way to do it whatsoever. Not at all. The truth is, after queen to f3, Black found himself in a very difficult position. There's knight takes h6, another typical sacrifice, and f6 falls. In case of g5, we've got bishop takes g5, h takes g5, queen h3 check. And we've got queen to h6 actually right now with an upcoming check beat from g5. And even when the Black king goes down, we've got this queen h6 once again coming in. It's too difficult. What do we need to do now? Well, what we need is to join another piece, right? I don't think that it will be as easy. First we join the knight, but then he stabilizes. And then I think it's time for us to already get some more forces into the attack. Perhaps maybe we can do g4. The plan of that will be when he plays moves like this, we can do h4. And the real trouble for Black is that when these pawns move, this is how our attack becomes successful. See, this is something we're going to cover later in these DVD, but the pawn moves are especially important for any flank attack that we start. The reason is because when we push the pawns, we get open, and we really get through activity and solid actions to break the opponent's defense. This is something significant. I have to submit that after playing with the move queen to f3, black has nothing. So maybe what he can do is play for rook to h8, which is okay. But then we've got g4 online. And now what we can see is that after g4, we use that resource, moving the pawns away. You know, to move the pawns up is made in order to clear the way and exchange them for those of our opponent. Now, when that happens, he'll be left with no defense. So, what do we need to do now? We'll get the two knights, the valuable bishop, and even the pawn looshing. All looks great. But the question really is, how do you do this so that the further threats happen against black's king? Well, for g4 and in king for g8, I think that now black can only dream for a move like g6 for g5. Yet, most of white's pieces are becoming terrific right now in this position. The move that white did was knight takes g7. What I find amazing about this move actually is that when the knight came to take on the g7, sort of black captures, white has the ability, he's got the ability to play a rook to g1, and it is extraordinary how next white is even going to make g5 to follow. A rook to the g1, and there's just nothing to happen. I mean, you also realize that if black plays rook to g8, white just has a lone castles type of idea, and he threatens g5 to get rid of the knight once more time. It's not possible. So, black was in a big trouble, mostly for the fact that g5 is extraordinary. So he played knight takes to e4, and then white did bishop takes to d8, bishop takes f2, king goes to a2, takes, and after d takes to e, very shortly after that black lost, because he's a rook, but he's a queen down. Queen for a rook and a knight, it's definitely not enough compensation. But what I find find amazing about this game is how slowly white started, concentrating his piece on the king side. And in the end, he finished it with a beautiful breakthrough. And a way to destroy the black pawns, specifically that one on the g7. It was amazing. A very valuable and beautiful example.
Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe.